fun.
All right, good to go.
We are live?
Yeah, live.
We are live. Good afternoon, everyone. Hopefully you can all hear me. If you could just drop a little note in the chat box, not everybody, just a couple of people confirming that you can hear us. See the screen? Can everybody see it? Yes, you hear us, you see us. Perfect. Thank you. Welcome to the GROW Mentorship Series, a book discussion on Let Them by Mel Robbins. I'm your host, Joanne Theriault-Fazio, a divisional sales director for the Midwest at Origin Point and your GROW Mentorship Director. I've been with great companies for almost 18 years, it'll be 18 next month, and have served as the mentorship director for GROW since the start of the program about 7 years ago. Now on to the reason why we are gathered here today. For those of you joining us for the first time, GROW is a great company's employee resource group designed to help empower and support women. And we also let the men join us as well on these mentorship series calls. So hopefully we'll have a really great mix of people today. Today's mentorship series will be a little bit different than some of the ones that we've done in the past. This isn't, program specific or great company specific. We're doing a book discussion. We have done one other book discussion in the past, and it was very well received. It was Atomic Habits. While that book focused really more on control and habits, this book, Let Them, focuses a little bit more on letting go, just let them. I found myself agreeing and disagreeing with many themes throughout this book. So I'm excited to hear from our panelists, and we want to hear from you, our audience. So feel free to raise your hand, jump in and take yourself off mute, use the chat. We really do want to make this interactive. We don't want to just be talking at you about a book that we read. That's not very exciting. So make sure that you are participating. We want to hear from you. We do have a few polls we want to take because we do want to hear from you kind of to get started. So if Natalie, you want to launch the polls, and while you're doing that, I can introduce our people. Good thing we have Natalie to help us with these things too, by the way, because I wouldn't figure it out. All right, so the first poll is, have you read the book Let Them by Mel Robbins? You don't have to have read the book to be here today. In fact, I think what I've heard from a handful of people is that they didn't read the book because they do listen or watch her online. So they really know a lot of the themes of this book already. Those of you who may have read it a long time ago have probably seen her online, so you didn't need to reread the book. So some people writing started it in there too. So yeah, I always love to ask the question is, did you audiobook it or did you read it with Bible? So, okay, there's an Audible. I audiobooked it because if I'm in the car, it's a great thing to do. So yeah, that's great. And then if we want to launch the next poll and the next, whenever you get a chance, Natalie. But in the meantime, I do want to introduce our panelists of amazing women, all of whom I love and adore and some have known for a very long time. So to start off, I just want them to go around and talk a little bit about themselves and introduce themselves to you. So we'll start with Jennifer Fairfield, if you'd like to say hello to everybody.
Hi, good morning, everybody. I'm Jennifer Fairfield. I'm a producing branch manager for the Denver office within RATE, and happy to be here today.
Thanks, Jennifer, for being here. And how long have you been with RATE? Long time. I've known you a long time at this point.
14 years.
Long time. Yep. All right. Next, Erin Stojakovic, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. I'm
Oh, Erin, you're breaking up.
trying to really do it tour with my son. At a baseball thing. So we've been working and traveling, doing all the things as a working professional mom. Been with great companies since 2022. And prior to that, I was there from 2008 to 2013. So in and out of the business for quite a long time.
All right. And for those of you who maybe didn't hear what Erin was saying at the beginning because she was cutting it out, she's over at Origin Point with us, came via our corporate merger, and she is a vice president of mortgage lending. All right, and so we have another poll here, and then we'll get to our fabulous GROW board that's on with us today. But which theme of the book resonated with you the most? So this is really probably only going to apply to you that have actually read the book or maybe listened to Mel Robbins' podcast. Also, if you thought Mel Robbins was going to be here on with us today, I apologize. Like, just making sure that you know it's just us fabulous women talking about her book. But you have the Let Them and Let Me, releasing control of others and focusing on what I can control. Reclaiming personal agency, taking back my energy and power by setting clear intentions. Emotional detachment, learning to pause and not react emotionally to others' behavior. Healthy boundaries, understanding it's okay to get others let others figure things out on their own. Focusing on growth, letting go to create space for my own goals and personal development, and then quieting the self-doubt. Interesting. Some of these can probably apply to everybody, and some probably have more than one that they would like to choose. But let's go ahead and introduce our Grow board while that poll is finalizing. So we'll start with Tracy.
Good morning. I am Tracy Anastasia. I am the executive sponsor of GROW. I am the EVP of operations for a division of Origin Point. And then I also do some other things for rate companies to help out. So I wear many hats. I have been with rate companies going on 9 years. And I think that's it. I'm happy to be here. Excited to talk with all of you.
Thank you. Lisa?
Hey there, I'm Lisa Messler. I'm the EVP of the Southeast for RATE. I've been with the organization for 3.5 years and excited to talk about the book. I think when I just took the poll, I might have answered like 5 of them. So clearly I felt like the book was very impactful, to me, just for all the things that we experience as leaders and the business. So thank you all for being here.
Yeah, and we're getting some really good chats in here too. I love it that you're all like, talking about what resonated with you, chapters 11 through 13, which off the top of my head, I don't remember what those were, but I'm sure that they were great. We'll get into that in a little bit. Let's hear from Kristen.
Hi there, I am Kristen Dale, Senior Vice President in Dallas, Texas. I have been with RATE for about 6 years now. I'm just very excited to be here and be a part of it.
Thanks. And Lisa and Kristen are our co-chairs for GROW too. So a lot of programming and a lot of new initiatives that we are rolling out. They're a really big, wonderful part of. And then our very own Natalie Davis. Would you like to introduce yourself for those of you who may not know Natalie?
Sure, I'm Natalie Davis. I'm, VP of Employee Experience and Culture at Rate Companies. Have been with the organization for about 6 years, and I work with this lovely crew on GROW operations. So happy to be here. Excited for this discussion.
Thanks. And so these are your panelists for today. However, anyone really, like, if something resonated with you and you want to jump in and say something, please do. We want to hear from everyone. This is a little bit different from your average book club, since we're doing it in the middle of the workday and we're doing it virtually. We're all around. But anyway, settle in and let's get started on our first segment. We're going to talk about some key themes. Mel Robbins talks about the importance of letting go of control and focusing on what you can control. What's one area of your life where you've had to embrace this mindset? This is a perfect question for our very own Tracy Anastasia. She embodies just really being able to control things. She's great. So I would love to hear from you, TA.
All right. So, it's funny because I was thinking about this question a lot, and professionally, I think I do fairly well here. Like, I let people do their thing. It's personally that I really struggle with this, right? So I try to control my personal life very much so. I have 4 children and a puppy and a husband, and those are all things I try to control, sadly. So I really do use this in my personal life. So, my oldest went away to college. That was really hard for me. Right. So he was like, Mom, please don't like 360 me when I go to college. Right. Like, I'm 18, I'm an adult. And I didn't. And it was actually quite freeing because I think I would have spent all of my days watching my child. Right. I would have, sadly, that's who I am. So I think even like little things at home for me, having the kids do the dishes, I know they're going to put things in the wrong place. And I have to accept that. Right. I'm going to let them do that. That way, otherwise, no one's going to do the dishes but me. because I am type A and so they might fold the towels wrong. I let them fold the towels wrong. At least the towels are folded. So I think for me, it's my personal life. I'm really trying to like let go of trying to control their lives and kind of let them make some decisions. I'm still guiding, obviously, because they are kids, and everybody's different. So letting them be who they are, I think, is really important. So I think for me, that's the area of my life where I really had to embrace it.
I totally relate to you on the dishes, Tracy. Like,
Yeah.
I just have this way I like to stack it. It's like that 5 minutes of putting the dishes in the dishwasher where you're like, I just can, let everything go out of my brain from the day, and then it's just perfect. And if somebody else does it, I'm like, oh, that cup flipped or whatever. So I hear you on that. Anyone else relate to anything else that Tracy said, especially about the children, the older children? It's probably a lot harder as they start to gain some independence, and we've got some thumbs up here in their own lives and going away to college. I can't imagine that, how hard that must be as, somebody who, does like to make sure that there's, some semblance of control, or even if you weren't the person that liked semblance of control, it still would be difficult. And anyone really feel free to jump in from the panel at any point in time if you want to add anything as well. But this book emphasizes the power of boundaries and saying no. And so I think this is going to be different for everybody from a work perspective or a personal perspective. But how do you think this applies to women balancing personal and professional responsibilities? Because everybody on here that's a woman probably has both, right?
Yes. So I think this is a difficult one. So that word balance, I think, is often difficult in our personal and professional lives. So I earlier in my career, I would say that I didn't have as good of a balance, for lack of a better word. And then you have regrets, right? And so I think as I've aged and gotten older, I've learned to kind of say no and set some boundaries so that I don't regret missing out on whatever it was, or getting home super late. Or now I still do attend the things that I need to attend for my professional life and the things I need to attend for my personal life, but I do have a much better grasp on both sides of it. So I think saying no is really important. As I've gotten older, it'll be, do you want to go out to dinner tonight? I'm like, no, it's a Tuesday. I don't. I really don't. I mean, so when I was younger, I went, right? And so I still do the things that I need to do to make sure that I'm not, doing anything that's going to cause me harm, right, in my personal or professional life. But I do think as you get older and learn, to the power of saying no, and that it's okay, I think that's really powerful as time goes on.
Yeah. Cindy typed in the chat that balance is a myth. And I love that you say that, Cindy, because I just remember we have touted work-life balance for so long. And there are moments where it works and there are moments where it's really difficult. Someone has 5 kids with a large age range. Yes, that is, I'm sure that balance can be hard too. Tracy, you obviously can relate to that with your 4 children with your age range.
And I don't feel like it's a balance like this. I feel like it's like this, and then it's like this. It's like that. I don't think it's ever, one big balance.
Yeah. Well, and then I don't know about you, but I always feel like when we do have a lot of work things we need to be at, that is the week that all the kid appointments are.
Yes.
It's like it just happens to fall on like every, the little kid rheumatologist, the doc band for the, the cranial fitting thing. It's like, why is everything on the same week all the time? But
yeah, and sometimes you have to count on your village, right? If there's that, if you, and luckily I've got some children with driver's licenses, so it'll be like, I need you to take your brother here, and I need you to do this, and so, and my husband's work is a little more flexible than mine, so he can jump in. So, but I do, those weeks are hard. They really are. It's definitely a juggling act for sure.
Yeah, I would love, Kristen. I know you are. I think you're great at balance. I don't know how you do it. I would love to hear a little bit about my perception of your balanced life.
Oh, that's funny that you think I'm great at it. I don't believe that at all. I have a 3 and a 4-year-old. And I I just try to set boundaries in place. Like I have to leave. I am home at 4:30 every day because my nanny leaves. So I have no choice. And I mean, I have a husband, but let's be honest, I do the majority of things at home. And I've just set those boundaries with my clients. Like, hey, I can try to take your call, but you've got to be okay with a 3 or 4-year-old that's screaming in the background. And I've also tried to focus on just those relationships, especially realtor relationships that are going to respect that, or that they're in the same season of life as me. So they get it, and their kids probably screaming in the background as well. But yeah, I'm very big on time blocking to make sure it all happens. Hence why I'm on a treadmill right now while I'm on this call to try to get my steps in so I can make it all work.
That's so awesome. I love it. I would say too, this is a great plug right now for another one of our GROW programs that we have that Tracy does run, which is our parenting call. A lot of what was just mentioned, honestly, comes up on the parenting call. And sometimes I think it's really refreshing to hear that there are other people that are going through the same things that you are going through as well, especially one like other individuals across the country. It's like, oh, it happens in other markets. And two, if you aren't going into an office every day where that would be normally where you would have these discussions, it's a great safe space to have these conversations, to just be like, I just need somewhere to vent a little bit, right? Yeah, Ellie, you're relatable.
I'm not sure also though that we should even use the word balance anymore, right? Like I really have tried to get away from that, and I now ask myself, I use the word harmony. Like, am I in heart? Am I flowing this week, right? What's the harmony? Because I totally agree with you, Tracy. It's never like this. And then when it's like this, then I start coming down on myself because I don't have the balance. But when I use harmony, it's like, all right, it's just going to go like this. And that to me feels better, and I'm not so hard on myself when it is like that.
Who would read Jennifer Fairfield's book about harmony instead of balance?
100%.
I would read it just based on that, like, few sentences. I would read that book. So,
and I will add into that. And I said this, I think it was on one of the parenting calls. So I'm sorry if you've already heard it, but it resonated with me a lot that you're always going to have a lot of balls in the air, and you're going to drop some balls. Just make sure to not drop the glass balls and make it the plastic balls that fall. And I was like, that is so relatable. And that makes sense to me. And the fact that, like, I mean, I screw up every day, but let's make sure I don't accidentally approve a loan that's going to get denied, or let's make sure I don't forget to pick up my child, like just focus on the big glass balls.
So true.
Nice. So we'd love to hear from everybody, just maybe drop in the chat. What's one area of your life where you feel you need to let go of control? You can also have, multiple answers to this one. Is it work, relationships, parenting, health? In the book, Mel focused on a lot of different topics. She covered everything essentially, where she felt she was trying to control. One thing that I thought resonated with me is when she started talking about adult friendships being different from like your childhood friendships, and why you could still be friends with somebody that you're best friends with in the 7th grade, but your friendships do change. And I think for me, that was like super eye-opening. I was like, well, that actually makes sense because of the whole proximity thing. You're not with that person every single day. And one other thing that I thought was kind of amazing statistically that she said in the book was that from the ages of 21 to 60, you will spend more time with your coworkers than you will with your friends and family combined. And I love you, my coworkers, but that made me a little bit sad too. So it was interesting. It was an interesting eye-opening moment for me that really resonated. All right, so we have some people typing in the chat. There's a lot of different varieties of opinions, which is great. And I just lost the chat again. Oh, there it goes. Sorry. And then on a scale of 1 to 5, how comfortable are you with saying no when needed? This is a great question, because I think your answer to that can pivot, right? It can pivot if it's personal, it can pivot if it's work related, it can pivot based on importance or perceived importance. So some higher numbers. Aaron, you're a 4. That's good. Crystal's a 2. So yeah, it's been difference between personal and yeah. Panel, what do you think? I feel like I'm a 3 on that. I'm right in the middle.
I give myself a 3.8, but that's probably a little high. It depends on what it is. Like I say, I'm really good when it comes to my kids and making sure that, but I'll be the first if someone needs to get approved in 3 seconds. I put them in front of Bluey and hurry and do it real quick. So I try, but I feel like there's always exceptions in this business because it's not a 9-to-5 job.
Totally. I do love Bluey, though. I've really started to enjoy that show a lot. For those of you who don't have little children, it's perfectly acceptable if you watch it on your own. It's funny. It's funny enough for that. All right, let's move on to segment 2, practical takeaways. We are going to pivot to some answers from Aaron. Aaron, what is one actual piece of advice from the book that you've applied in your life, and how has it impacted you?
Thing that I really like. You be an example of
Okay. Can you guys hear Aaron?
It's
Hold on.
cutting in and out.
Yeah.
I think one of the things I can jump in here real quick while she gets that figured out is
Thanks, Lisa.
I would say obviously the let them piece was important, but I also like the let me. And when Mel shared that story about when her kid was going to prom and going out in the rain, like I could totally see me and my mom friends like wanting to fix that whole situation. Like, no, you should do this dinner and fix all this and whatever. And so that sort of resonated just because we do have so many competing priorities. So I definitely like that. I definitely liked, that I can't fix, like I put in the chat, I do, as a leader, I do want everybody to be happy, and I do want to please people, and I want them to get there. But sometimes you just can't get there, right? And so knowing that I can control my reaction or the steps or things that I've put out there to help people is what I can do and be receptive to their feedback. But I also can't choose that for them. And, that's been hard, personally, and even with a long-term friendship that I have from childhood where I know that I could say this is what you should do, but the person doesn't do that. And reading this book has helped me even in that personal friendship to be able to say, you know what, there's more to this. I need to let them do that. And I'm going to just, let them be in that piece. So I think that's been the biggest thing is just kind of helping me with my mindset and then just helping me in terms of focusing on my goals as well.
Thanks, Lisa. You guys, I'm sorry about that.
You're good.
I'm trying to
We can hear you.
I'm trying to be an example of a mom with older kids who can do it all, and it's just always a struggle as we try and, I'm demonstrating the juggling that we do. I'm on my son has a college visit for baseball, so he's got a showcase here in Georgia, and I am working on the road. It came up last minute, so here we are, working from hotel rooms and cars and all that good stuff that we try and do to just, again, do it all. And what I would say my actionable piece of advice is, you're going to have to draw your line in the sand and do the best you can and forgive yourself for when you can't do things perfectly. I remember when I had young kids like you, Kristen, I would, put my daughter in the baby Bjorn and I'd type away on my computer. They didn't have standing desks back then because my daughter's 19. And I'd put cardboard boxes on top of my desk so I could stand and type. And you just do the best you can to get through until they're older. And then it's different challenges and different things. And you kind of just roll with it and grow with it. And my let them is just, I don't chase or follow energies of people or relationships or realtor relationships that aren't aligned with my energy, right? My personality, whatever it might be. I'm leaning into the relationships that work, the strong, loyal friendships that I have, and really embracing those and digging deep. And
the realtor relationships that I'm working hardest at are the ones that love me back.
I love that about you. Do you think you were always like that, even in the beginning of your career, or was that a lesson you learned along the way?
Oh my gosh, I've got such I will say that's the one great thing that comes with 20 plus years in the business and age and just, I'm going to call it maturity, is I don't have as thin of a skin as I used to. I used to be sensitive, a lot more sensitive than I am now. And I just don't take things personally anymore. And I don't get, I don't even, when files blow up, I don't get mad. I have such a different perspective on it now. Life happens to everybody, including our clients, including the people we're working with, and you can control the controllables. And I work really hard to own my own, piece of things and just, do the best I can to give kindness to everybody else.
Yeah. So many things I love about you, and that is one of them. If you could give one piece of advice to someone struggling with self-doubt, what would it be?
Yeah. I think it would be to really give yourself some grace and not believe everything you think. That's another book I just finished. I would recommend it's a really quick read, but it's Don't Believe Everything You Think. And it's almost like an exercise, that you have to get good at, is, recognizing the thought of the self-doubt of what you're beating yourself up over, or maybe somebody's coming at you for something and you feel blindsided. I'll recognize it. And I won't wallow in it. I really don't dive into deep thoughts about things, that would make me feel anxious or insecure. I recognize it and I move on. I distract myself. I change the subject internally so that I can not continue to beat myself up or resonate with things that are creating doubts in my head. And knowing that they're really just thoughts that I'm creating. I don't have to believe them all. I have to just acknowledge, accept, and move on.
Mm-hmm. But also something that comes with age experience as well, for sure. Yeah. And that's, I think, one of the things I was thinking as I was reading this book. Mel has had all this life experience, where I think they did actually go bankrupt, right? Like the husband's business was doing terrible, and all of these things were happening. And then, as your children grow, you become, maybe a more efficient parent or a better parent because you're also learning and growing with them. There's so many different things that come with age and maturity that we can say now, but not, 20 years ago in the beginning of careers.
Yeah, everything is temporary. The 3 and 4 year old bluey stage is temporary. This college visit stage is temporary. Just, keep your compass pointed true north and follow your own values. Keep working, just keep going, because, you're going to move on from this stage as well.
And one thing I just wanted to add there, I think I love what Erin just said there, but I also think self-doubt, I like what Alyssa said in here about redirection, but I also think self-doubt can also be loudest and kind of perceived as a breakthrough, kind of like discomfort and things like that. So acknowledging, I think, the fear for me and then acting anyway. I think when you do that, you build confidence instead of not feeling ready. I think Mel talks about that as she was talking about doing her, I think most of us who are in sales, about doing videos and doing her presentations and things like that. So that was just a small example that she displayed in the book. But I do think that there's a lot of power if redirected, that self-doubt can really be where you get your real growth and get your real power.
Mm-hmm. You're right, Lisa, when she was talking about how she didn't post on her social media when she started her business for 2 years. Can you imagine a loan officer posted nothing ever, or a real estate agent or anything like that? Never. 2 years. I thought that was, just surprising, especially since she's done pretty well for herself.
She does all these podcasts and everything. And I'm we feel like nerds doing it, but hey, it kind of gave me motivation for sure.
Right. All right, we are going to ask you all to pop some stuff in the chat for us again. What's one small step that you may have taken recently to prioritize yourself or set a boundary? It could be turning your phone off at a certain point in time. For me, a while ago, I did that silence incoming notifications, like I think 7 or 9 p.m. at night to 7 a.m. And I'm not saying I still don't check it or whatever, but it just does something to you where you're not hearing the dinging or the ringing. So anything anybody wants to, silent ring setting, do not disturb. That is, I think, a very popular one. Some people always say, like, I don't check my work email before I get out of bed. I'm guilty of that. That's something I've like never been able to stop. Or, no screens before bed. A lot of it's like giving grace to family. When on vacation, remove the work apps from your phone. Good for you, Joellen. Good for you. Yeah. So turning off phone. Yeah. And then which areas do you want to improve most? Confidence, boundaries, letting go, or self-validation? I'd love to hear from our lovely panelists too on this, if there's anything. I think I heard a lot of boundaries today. I think mine would be boundaries if I had to pick one.
I'll just chime in. So one thing that I work on, so I try to be a really, like, I'm a the glass is half full kind of girl. And I'm always like really encouraging to my friends and positive and uplifting and oh no, you're sad. Well, I'm gonna swoop in and lift you up. And I have learned that it's okay to let them feel what they're feeling. And that has been, I don't have kids, but I would imagine it would be very difficult as a parent to see a little one sad about something. I would want to fix that right away. But I think there is value, right, in letting people feel what they're feeling without any judgment. And yeah, the situation sucks. And be okay with it versus, or figuring out what your next step is, right? But so for me, it's letting people feel what they're feeling. Letting them,
I love that.
Sit with that.
There's other ways to be a good friend or a good family member, and letting people do that and trying to fix them. I love that.
Yeah.
That was a big one for me. I felt like that was such a learning experience. I'm one of those people who I do try and fix things with people and guide, be that motherly figure. And, there's a real resistance to it sometimes from people if you push too hard. And it's not always necessarily a place, just that was a very eye-opening chapter for me. I felt like it was really good to hear the guidance on just modeling as opposed to pushing.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to the next segment. I feel like this is not like an hour-long discussion about this book. This could be like a multi-day retreat or anything. There's a lot, which is probably why she has a whole podcast about it. And we'll probably have a follow-up book and all of those things too. But this one I think is very important for women and men. We talked about this on another Grow panel at some point in time, but just overcoming self-doubt. Mel Robbins talks about the inner critic and how it holds us back. Jennifer, how do you personally quiet that voice of self-doubt?
Yeah. So self-doubt is ego just trying to keep you safe. It doesn't want you to take risks, so it's trying to protect you. And so a trick that I use that I have found to be really helpful is I imagine my ego as a little kid in the backseat of a car. I'm driving, they're jumping up and down on the seat, being loud and really obnoxious. And so I say with authority, I'm driving, sit down in the back seat. And immediately my ego voice goes quiet. When I say it with authority, my ego says, oh, she's serious. Oh, okay, she has this. I can sit down now. And it allows me to become grounded again with a clear head. I can replace that noise with whatever positive, encouraging thoughts that I need to be able to move forward. But that is a little trick that I have found to be really helpful. And it's true, right? Like I am driving. This is my life. I'm driving. I'm in control of whatever situation this is. I don't need your opinion. I don't need your criticism right now. So sit down in the back seat, and then I can I can proceed. So that's a trick that I found. So hopefully that'll help somebody.
I think it does help somebody. It's a confidence builder in like the challenging situation. So would you say that's the strategy you use, or is there something else that you do to strategize when you do feel like you need some building of confidence or something like that? You have challenging personal or professional situations.
Yeah. So I would say the other sort of strategy is focusing on progress, not perfection. That's a mantra I use all the time. I also try to practice. Like if I could go through life every day as a dress rehearsal, wouldn't that be awesome? Because you'd have so much confidence the next day, right? As you do it. But obviously that's not real life. So I do try to rehearse or practice whatever it is I'm going to say at a meeting or in a conversation, or visualize, well, what do I think this room is going to look like if I'm feeling intimidated by whatever? Who's going to be there? And I just try to visualize it, and that way when I actually show up, it's like, oh yeah, I've already been here. I got this. This I've been here before.
I love that. I think not enough people do that on the sales side. They don't come prepared. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. And I'm not saying I do all the time, but I can definitely tell a difference when I show up, like kind of winging it and like, whoo, I'm glad I made it on time. That my presence and contribution is not as solid as when I am prepared and when I'm like ready to play ball.
Right. Exactly. All right. We would love to hear. Oh, there's a lot. I've learned to use language to my family that allows me to listen to them, but not fix. Yeah, we're getting so many great chats. I just want to go back and like read the chats later too, because we're getting so many good little tips and tricks and insight into everybody. Thank you for sharing, everybody. It's nice that people feel that they can be vulnerable on a call and like share these things. That's part of what GROW is about, right? So we would love to hear from people about what's the biggest source of self-doubt for you: fear of failure, fear of judgment, lack of experience. The lack of experience is an interesting one, because does that fix after you've gotten a little bit of experience, or does the fear of failure or fear of judgment kick in? So love to hear from people on what they think about that. I think that's something that gets better with age as well, and experience, right? For everybody. Lack of experience in this field is always a hot topic for me. Okay. Not enough business. Laura says she loves putting that ego child in the back seat strategy. So that was a great tip, Jennifer. All right, everybody. What is one thing you've done recently that made you feel proud of yourself? This is probably a really important question, because we've talked a lot about, Mel talks a lot about in the book about like, the let them, this probably relates a little bit more to that let me theory. What can you do? What can you control? So there has to be things that we're proud of for ourselves, whether it's Aaron, you're able to get on this call while you're doing a college visit, which is awesome. You're making both sets of priorities. Helping others is always, I think, something that a lot of us can feel proud of, whether you're helping somebody get into a house, you're helping a coworker, or you're helping a friend or family. So would love to hear a couple of things. Hit my first $1 million month as a brand new LO. Congratulations, Alyssa. That's awesome. Bet on myself to make a big decision despite a lot of noise. Holly. It's good. Always betting on yourself is great. And that's also a key theme throughout the book too, is once you can kind of let go of some of that self-doubt, bet on yourself. I tackled a few things on my personal to-do list that I've put off for a long time. I would love to hear how you did that, Laura, because I think I have a very long personal to-do list that I need to tackle. That's great. I got back to the gym by prioritizing myself. Wonderful, Monica. All these are so amazing. Thank you for sharing, everybody. All right, we'll get on to, because we only have about 15 minutes left. So let's go to segment 4. We have 2 more segments left we want to try to get through. Segment 4 is the power of letting go. And we're going to hear from Lisa on this one. And anybody else who wants to chime in. But the title of the book, Let Them, is about letting others do what they want while you focus on your own path. How has this idea changed the way you approach relationships or work? Coming from our only female divisional sales manager, Lisa Messler.
Oh, that's funny. For me, it's like just really helped me to like stop wasting time on like resistance, I guess, if you will. So if someone doesn't want to grow or collaborate, I just have to say I let them. Or if I feel like my voice isn't heard, I just kind of have to let go, because like, there's been times when we've all been in a meeting where you said something and somebody might say the exact same thing, but you don't, like nobody acknowledges you, but they acknowledge somebody else. I mean, I think we've probably all been there, especially as female leaders, right? But what I would say is it's helped me to also, whether I was a loan officer or in my leadership role, to pour into the people that do have the energy and do want to grow and, do work through those things. And, instead of focusing sometimes on some of like not being seen, working with the people that do see and hear me has like really filled my cup. So that's kind of what I would say from that perspective.
How are you able to identify those people that do want to grow? Like, at what point are you like, oh, that person they don't want my help? Like, I would love to know that.
I think for me, it's about like having like, just like one-on-ones or meetings or events or whatever have you. And then just like seeing the follow through, and people taking action on it, and just some people really just have that like natural, like, let's get after it. Let's not talk about what's holding us back. Like, let's focus on moving forward. Of course, like it usually takes me several times before I do kind of come to that conclusion, because I do want everybody to succeed. And sometimes like there was a point in my career, like I felt like sometimes I wanted it more for somebody than they sometimes wanted it for themselves. And so coming to that, because I saw their talent but sometimes like eventually at the end of the day, you got to put the work in. And so coming to that acknowledgement, and with that, like all of us being on this call, like we've all everybody's talked about balance and harmony. And I love that, Jennifer, that was great. I'm trying to live a harmonious life over here, but, just trying to focus on, putting that work in and doing it the right way and being high integrity in that space. So.
Awesome. And then what's one way you've learned to stop seeking validation from others and trust yourself instead?
I think that goes back to like we've talked about like imposter syndrome before and things like that, I think in some of our meetings. So this part sort of resonated with me. Like, do I deserve to be in this room? Have I earned to be in this room? And things like that. And really kind of working through some of that self-doubt. And then, the other thing is that I do want everybody to be successful and meet their highest potential, whether it's like my coworkers, my friends, my children, right? And that sometimes in, leadership role, whether it's personal or professional, because we are leaders of our homes, like I know I'm the boss at my house. And at least I think I am. But I just have to remind myself that sometimes leadership isn't always popular, and sometimes you just have to leave with integrity. Know that you're not going to please everybody, but know that if your intentions are from a good place, you know what I mean? I'm a big person of looking at people's intent. And so even if I don't agree with them, because I might see it from a different lens, I always look at like, what was their intent? And I believe like 99% of people's intentions are very good, right? And, everybody has to advocate for themselves. So that shift for me was extremely freeing for me. So.
Mm-hmm. And we're getting a lot of great comments in the chat, including somebody wanting you to be their mentor, which is really sweet. We've seen love myself and nothing in my opinion, influence your feedback matters. Yeah, a lot of great stuff. Thanks. So question for the group to put in the chat, but what's one thing you've stopped worrying about because it's out of your control? There's so many things that are out of our control in life. A lot probably focused on the way other people feel. There's a quote Reese Witherspoon says a lot where it's like, don't let other people's opinions of you don't matter to you. Just like, basically let it go. And when I was reading this book, I kept thinking about that. It's like how she's said that. But again, I think that is a thing that you get wise to as you gain more life experience as well. Kristen, what other people think about your decisions? Ooh, I like that. Personal and professional, right, Kristen? Could be both.
For sure. I mean, you get people griping or like judging you because you decided to work and be a working mom, and then people are judging stay-at-home moms. Like, you can't win either way.
Yeah.
So it's just do you, or even with, I've taken a big step forward in my career in the last year, and people were questioning that a lot. And it's like, okay, let them, like, let what happens speak for itself, which that was a lot of help from Lisa too, my mentor.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. I get a lot of, I don't know how you do it all. It's like, well, organization is a key part of it, right?
We're crazy.
Right. We're crazy. Yeah.
And I would go back to the first bullet point on this one too. It's that what Tracy was talking about, control. I don't worry about, I let my kids figure it out. Like, I don't worry about how they're going to do, or in class or in a game or in an interview. It is what it is at this point. We raise them, we trust them. My husband, I used to worry about, what's he going to make them for dinner? Is he going to walk the dog? Will he do all the things that I would need him to do in my absence? I don't worry about that anymore. Like, it is what it is. Everyone will probably survive. And I let go of that control. So, I think that's part of the boundary that we have to really just accept as working professional women.
Yeah. Erin, I'm laughing because it's so relatable for me. As of like yesterday, I was traveling on business in Indy, and it was water play day yesterday at school. And I reminded my husband, who does an amazing job both with our business and with our children, I shall say. But I did remind him, and guess what he forgot? The stuff for water play. So, the 3-year-old wasn't very happy with it. But it's so relatable that you just can't control all of the things. Anyway, all right. Last question on this slide is, do you agree with the idea of letting them as a way to reduce stress? Why or why not? I think I struggled with this part of the book. Is like, it sounds like a nice idea in theory, but I think hard to execute in a way too. If for when you do want to control things, whether it's at home or business. But I would love to hear what everybody else, just a yes or a no on there. Got some, you can only control yourself, a yes, especially with kids. So that's good for me to know as my children get older, that I can do it if you all can do it, right? Yes, all yeses. Okay. Sometimes I remind my husband of the really obvious things. I love that. Okay. All right, let's pop over to our last segment 5. All right. Applying the lessons. And so we just would love to hear from anyone. Feel free to type in the chat. My lovely panelists, feel free to chime in. But let's start with, how can the lessons from Let Them help us in professional settings like managing teams or working with clients? We've definitely touched on this before, but love to tie it up and hear from you again on it. So if somebody wants to take the professional piece, managing teams.
I think one, it teaches us to like stop micromanaging, right? And like empower our teams and to be their best, and, let them make the decisions that they need to, instead of sometimes, like we talked about before, like fixing them or doing them the way we did them, and like the outcome is still the same. And so I would encourage everybody to trust themselves, and the best thing that we could all do for each other is just to, lift each other up, start modeling. And then I think that where we show that, that focus, where we own our behavior and we can control what we can control, that becomes a movement for everybody.
Yeah, love it.
I also think when you let your teams, you're obviously going to give them the tools and the things they need to do their job. But when you let them just do it, they sometimes will come up with ideas or teach you something, right? So it's like so great to let people do it their way, because I think you get so much out of that.
I love it. I read a book, I think it was Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. And he said, like, when you're growing your team, or if you have a team, if they can do it 80% as well as you, to let them do it. And I'm like, oh, I know 90, but okay, I'll listen to it. But it's so true, because if you want to grow to the next level, or if you need more freedom outside of your house, you have to let some of that go to get there. And that's such a statement that I keep repeating over and over to myself as I look at that next stage of growth.
I love that you said that, Kristen, especially the 90. I'm like, oh, are we the same person today?
Yeah, I'm like, that 80 seems low. That's like a B- student, but okay.
Bar a little higher. I love it. And some things popped in the chat too about not chasing clients that aren't interested. And then Joellen, as long as we give our teams direction and tools on how to complete their jobs and tasks, we need to let them do it their way. Yeah. And I think especially like for the work from home people, I mean, it's so different now. I mean, if the pandemic taught us anything, it was that we had to trust our teams. Like, you just have to, because you're not there to be able to hover over them or walk up to them. It's very different when you're not all in the same space. The world has changed a little bit since then. So last question, and feel free to chime in the chat as well, but what's one way you've used the principles of this book to improve your personal relationships? And maybe nobody's really implemented directly from the book yet, because if you've just read it, but maybe you were already doing it before and it just resonated with you.
I've got one. I'm one of those people who wakes up at 5 a.m. and I go to the gym every day. I work out. And I think that chapter, like I said, about modeling instead of pushing and nagging, I think that I used to try and get my husband, like, I think I'd make him feel guilty. I'd probably just, whatever the case might be, wanted him to do what I was doing the way I was doing it. And I've learned to not say anything, let him do it his way, let him figure things out his way. And it's definitely created a sense of harmony, because I feel like it's given me permission to just let go.
Yeah, she definitely gave some very good tips backed by science on how you can do that as well. It's the things that I had never really thought about before. You're getting some thumbs up there too. For me, I was thinking about like that the scattering is what I think she called it with the friendships. It's just different. Like when you have, and I was actually talking about this with a coworker or a friend who we were driving back from Indy yesterday, and just like how your friendships do change over time. And it's like, you just can't let it bother you. People are in different spaces in their life, or their kids, or they don't have kids and they're different ages, or they may don't understand your career goals, and they might have different goals and aspirations for themselves. So I think that part of the book was like, for some reason, the personal side of this book was the most eye-opening for me versus the professional side. So, and we've got putting my phone away at meals so I can interact with my spouse more. Oh, that's good.
I need to do that one. I got in trouble for that last night. It was a recruiting call. It's from 7 to 8. What am I supposed to do?
I love it. I love it. Oh, I love you all so much. You're so fun. This is just such a fun group of people. But anyway, yeah. So anybody else have anything they want to say before we let everyone go? We're at 12. Good job, everyone. 12 on the dot. I know we could have talked about this for like so much longer. There's so much to unpack here. So.
And Joanne, thank you so much for leading the discussion. I mean, you are fantastic, and really appreciate you keeping us on point.
Thanks.
Yes, thank you, Joanne.
Thanks for joining me. Appreciate you all so much. And then, I don't know, we'd also love some feedback. Like, we've done one of these books before. I wrote down the other books that Jennifer and Kristen mentioned too, so we can look into those. If people are interested in like doing this more often, we can definitely look at it. Not that we want to give you any homework, because that's always tough with, book club and book discussion. We don't want you to feel like you have homework, but if people are interested in doing another book, we can always look at that too.
Yeah, throw them in the chat and popular books out there for sure.
It'd be great. We would do a poll. We can do a poll on that, right, Natalie? Not right this minute, I mean, but like survey, email. I was like, Natalie, just whip up a poll for us. Thank you. All right, everyone. Well,
Thanks,
happy
all.
Thursday and have a great rest of your week. And, let them, I guess, right?
Yeah. Let them. Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Bye,
Bye.
guys.
See ya. Bye.